Well, hello to everybody. We are very delighted to be with you here today to present our projects on Wikibase. We are performing at the German National Library. Please find more detailed information in the Etherpad. That's Barbara Fischer and Thomas Bauer. We both work at the German National Library in the Office for Library Standards in different roles. I'm a communication manager and Thomas is working as a developer. Could you turn to the next slide, please? So our goal by deploying Wikibase is offering an appealing environment for non-librarian contributors to the integrated authority file. Please keep in mind that authority files are a common tool amongst librarians, but in the digital transformation, both museums and archives and science institutions are more and more interested in reusing the authority file and editing authority files on their proper behalf. So by opening our integrated authority files to further institutions, we like to increase diversity, quality, quantity, and the richness of that authority file data. Next slide. We do this in two projects. The first is the second home for the GND, or integrated authority file, which means we'll keep, for workflow reasons, we'll keep our master in our software environment we have been using for ages as a master, and that master contains 9 million items and has about 300 properties and relations. We're transferring those items into a Wikibase instance as a second home to increase both the creation or editing, the use, and the querying of the GND. And as people will be editing in the second home of the GND, of course, we need to install synchronization in between the master copy and the Wikibase instance. Next slide, please. In our second project, you can imagine that editing authority files requires even more rules and regulations and conventions as Wikidata does. Just keep in mind how much is published on how to edit a Wikipedia article. Then you can imagine how much there is in regulations and rules for an authority file like the integrated authority file in the German-speaking countries. The very new thing we are trying to achieve is to transform these string texts into structured data, so you can differ in between items, properties, and relations, which would give us an opportunity to give you as an editor or a query searcher just the right information in just the right amount of time. So you won't have to read through lengthy text in PDFs in order to find out what kind of properties you need in order to edit a new person or a new location or something like that. Thomas will give you more on that in his slides. Next slide. So why come that we try to deploy Wikibase? Well, you all know Wikibase is a sort of unicorn in the open source environment. It's a linked knowledge database. It allows you to make or shape like a tailor-made data model. It promises easy access and the updating of data. And it also already provides you with various formats for the data export, and it allows you through a SPARQL endpoint a query, and this is improving, as we heard during this Wikidata. Next slide. So when we as institution are looking at software, we do have some slightly different maybe requirements than if you are like a an individual or, let's say, a little research project, because if we are investing heavy amounts of money into deploying Wikibase and making it productive within our workflows, we are looking for reliable governance structures. And this would include like a version handling as in GitHub. And we like to see an inclusive product strategy, because as we have heard here in various presentations already, Wikibase gives you a sort of basic service, but you will need to add several tools on top of it and make sure that they keep on working while Wikibase is developing further. So we are also looking for a transparent roadmap. So this is like in general what we are looking for and as institution. And now Thomas will give you some further insights on our development status, how far we have got, and what challenges and achievements we are facing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fine. Okay, thank you. So I want to show you quick the development status related to our two main projects. First of all, I want to start with the instructions. The GND instructions, you have to imagine you already put in the documentary, all the rule sets. We can draw them inside of Wikibase. This is great. On the left side, you see how the editor area everybody knows is going to look like. So you can edit your stuff and append more information, and everything is fine with this. We have a lot of properties related to each other, so we put a lot of statements inside. And of course, we have a variation in the data types as well, a little bit, to fulfill our needs there. And what we want to do now is creating user-friendly overview pages for consuming these kind of informations. So not only for editing it, because as you can understand, if you have like a documentation and then it's done and then you just want to consume it. And for this, we want to have nice overview pages with a lot of functionality to search in, to have user-related specific kind of lookup, so that you have different functionalities there. So on the right-hand side, you see what we actually did already. We were trying to create overview pages based on our logic within the authority files. So our authority files are mainly structured as data fields, and within the data fields you are having subfields. So as you can see here, we're creating a list of all these data fields and their related subfields. And of course, everything is documented in the Wikibase, in the database. So to solve this, we're using Sparkle to fetch all related item properties related to this data field context. And then we want to draw them out to have a nice overview page. So everybody who is interested in the GND can consume it like this. They have a nice entry point. They should be able to click around to understand. And of course, the second one are detail pages. We want to create out a specific data field, a detail on them, how it is going to be organized. And what we want to have is, like you see in the boxes there on the left-hand side, the description. Of course, we want to multiple use them in different views, and that makes it a little bit more complex. We need full access to our own created information based on our database. So as you see, we use it on multiple pages, or we want to use them. One thing we were struggling, you can see Sparkle is a nice point to fetch information based on the items or property logic, but you get an unordered collection of solutions back from the endpoint, which makes it a little bit hard for us because there is no retain order of Wikibase statements or their related value blocks at all. So this is an unordered list, and for us right now, we were drawing an idea of, okay, what you see is what you get. We want to have the editor area, of course. It stays like it is, and once this is fulfilled, the needs are inside, all the information is inside. We want to fetch them, and we are trying to do it via the API. Of course, we already have the API, but we want to have the API in a way that you really get out the statements like you would see them in the editor page, and then further process them to have a nice view page. And we want to have modern web applications which can make use out of this. Not only us, maybe in the future, maybe other institutions could fetch these kind of informations and draw them on their own pages. This is possible if you follow these separation there and using the API. And right now, the current work there on this, we did some improvements already with our partner, Professional Wiki. So, for instance, on the left side, if you see a statement example of a given property, like we call it validation, then there is there must be the retain of these values orders in the API as well. So we are going through the API, call them, and on the right side, this is like for our use case, the GND logic. The properties you see in the list of fields are our data fields, and within the data fields, you can click in and you see the label, the description, aliases, like we know already, and then we have our specific properties related to these fields, and then we want to fetch them in a general approach. So it needs to be generalistic enough to, generic enough to draw detail pages out of it for viewing, for consuming only. This is a nice work so far. And on the way, we got an interesting fact that right now, at the moment, we are not able to create a value, a Boolean data type based on a Boolean, like we need for our repeat property. So it's just the logic of true or false. Do we want to repeat this kind of stuff or not? And this is what we want to do now with the partner to create this. And of course, it would be nice to share it with all the others. I guess there are other projects around who needs this kind of information or who needs this kind of data type to reuse. And right now we are really in the middle of this new API functionality, and then we want to, of course, use them right away in a prototype where we are actually using React based in Next.js to harvest our own API, do some nice improvements there, creating functionality out of this, and then make a nice view on that, so that people can really come inside of the GND network and how it is working and learning a lot. On our second project, GND as a second home, our challenges, I want just quick talk about them. So imagine 9 million entities are going to be involved, and we need to map them we have to turn them into property item logic, and we have to upload them. 9 million entities, and especially their relations are a bit of heavy, because it's not really a one-on-one relation. Sometimes you have N2M relations, and then you have to be aware of that. So as well as synchronization between the Wikibase items and the GND internal items, need some kind of middleware there to really address the needs there. Imagine if you want to change such an authority file right away, you can do that, of course, but at least there needs some quality checks, and all this stuff has to come inside, and this makes it a little bit more complex than it would be if you allow everybody to just contribute and everything, everybody would happy. So the rules are important. We have to follow them to be good and to stay on a high quality level of the data sets itself. Yeah, that's our challenge there, and we are happy to come up with some more functions there or some solutions there in a couple of months, I guess, so we can talk about this. Yeah, I have to say thank you to everybody. If you have any questions, please let us know. We can use the Etherpad or right away now. I don't know how many minutes are left.
Yeah, we definitely have time. I think we have at least 5-6 minutes. So if people have some questions in the chat or in the Etherpad, we can definitely try to answer. Renat has a question. Renat, do you want to just jump in, turn on your mic and ask it yourself? Because we have time. Or...
Well, it's not really a question. It's just a comment. So
please go ahead.
Hi,
okay,
Renat.
Hi, Thomas. In the previous talk, Dennis mentioned his tool Wikibase Sync, and I'm wondering whether it can help you somehow. But yeah, it's not a question, right? It's just a comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Renat, I think we will have to look at it. I thought that Dennis' talk was very, very interesting. But we will have to look deeper into it in order to be able to see what helps. And I'm very much looking forward to the intention to further like a Wikibase developer community and how we could help each other in order not to be wasting resources on doing the same stuff all over the world and nobody knows about it. So I think that's very important to share this information and make it available, and I'd really like to thank Dennis for that.
Yeah, I would definitely like chime in and say that we definitely need more of this kind of, not reinventing the wheel, sharing more. And I hope this conference, the whole day that we try to order, a great variety of talks will kind of do that. There is another question from Jarmo.
Yeah, I might take that from Jarmo as well. When we talk about synchronization, Jarmo, we are mainly referring to, or basically referring to, the synchronization in between the GND as second home, which will be open for editing for further communities, and our, master copy in the CBS system we have been using for years. There is some linkage done from the GND to Wikidata anyway. So I think this is like working apart. It is not part of what we name here synchronization in the talk.
Yeah, and like I said, this quality issue, if you draw it like that, so this is really important to see that groups of interest look above and then can talk about, okay, this is good. The new data which was drawing there is stable, or is good. Yeah, many things to address there. But of course, we can queue all these kind of things via the version control system in Wikibase. So this is a nice functionality on this topic. We could draw this solution there. We just have to keep in mind that we talk about 9 million items to put in first and then to hold synchronized. And then if there is a version on top, versioning systems, because people want to contribute. And we need to streamline these kind of new coming in informations on this on this side, and also we have information changes on our side of the library communities, which changing data sets every day. So everything is really up-to-date data, and we have to keep track on them all the time. And it has to be really a robust system in the end. So this is really, yeah, it's going to be very interesting how we move there.
Yeah, right. I'd like to address the question by Marco. Can the GND data be reused and republished as open data associated with an open license? Yes, sure. It's licensed under Creative Commons 0, so you are free to reuse it the way you want. And on the website of the National Library, you will find the way where to download the DOMs. I'll add the link here in the chat if you'd like me to do so.
And by the way, maybe I just want to say something about this idea where we are. Oh, okay, this is closed. Yeah. What you see is what you get. So the editor area is really nice, of course, and we can add information. But when it comes to reuse it, then it's really like I would like to focus on the developments there, to have it different than the API is working now. Of course, Wikibase is talking about you fetch some. But you fetch the property, and then you fetch statements of the property, and you fetch the logic how the data model is like for Wikibase terminology. But in the end, it would be also nice just to get all these kind of informations pre-rendered in a like a generic API fetch. So I would like to share with you guys in a couple of months these improvement there, and maybe it comes reality for every Wikibase to be reusable for others, because the logic is the same, right? Everybody has to use statements, and yeah, this would be a nice gift. And if you change some keys there, if the label is going to change, it changes the API itself as well, of course. This is not really a strict rule in API terms, but it works. So why not? Why not go for that? Yeah.
I think we have like 1 minute. There's, I think, 2 points in the chat that may be worth thinking about. One is from Dragan, which is, you know, like why the API instead of Sparkle endpoint, I would say, if I'm paraphrasing correctly. I don't know if, Thomas, you want to talk about that, but we can also talk about it later during the stakeholders group meeting. And then there's a question from Jackie Shea about the repeat property. Perhaps it can be deployed in schemas. I don't know if you want to mention anything about either one of these topics.
It would be up to Thomas. I couldn't say very much to it.
To the Sparkle?
Both the Sparkle or schemas.
So Dragan, like I said in the slide, the reordering or this unordered solution is not what we want to have in terms of the getting you back the feedback to the user. There must be an order in the instructions. You have to do that, then you have to do that, and these order mechanisms we have implemented in our edit pages, and there you can see the ordering is stay always, and in API terms it stays as well. And in Sparkle, it's not the same way. It's not fetching the information in an ordered list. So that's why of course, we can use Sparkle to know, okay, what is the collection about, and then we after use the API calls to Wikibase to retain the order, to stay on these orders. Of course, this is just related to our where we're talking about documentation.
Well, maybe taking into account the time, it would be good if you use the Etherpad to draft your question further, so we could actually try to give a complexer answer to it, because sometimes I know writing in the chat, you try to be as fast as possible, and then it gets hard to understand the question. So please use the Etherpad, and we will see to make sure that we get your